Hi, this is Tony Wu, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to build a system that converts leads like clockwork. And most agencies or most marketing service businesses like coaches or consultants, they go through these periods of feast and famine. Maybe 1 month they're making 30K a month. They have all these clients, everything's going great. But then their clients churn, and then the next month they're making $10,000 a month. And this way they're always stressed out. They don't know where their next clients are going to come from. And this is because they don't have a proven system based on sound fundamental principles. And that's exactly what we're going to show you how to do in this video. We're going to give you a framework for writing high converting copy, as well as how to make content that attracts your dream clients, how to book calls with funnels and email marketing, and how to actually close those calls and turn them into high paying clients. And all of this will be based on sound fundamental principles that we know 100% are true, not some new ideas that may work for a month or two, but then it stops working and then you need to hop on a new trend or find a new strategy. So to do this, we first need to understand what marketing actually is. Let's break this down. Let's say this is marketing, and ask yourselves, what is marketing really? What is the purpose of marketing? You need to get your leads to buy, right? And what criteria do they need to buy? There are really three things. Number one, they need to understand. They need to understand your message. You need to actually be able to deliver your message to them, and they need to be willing to listen. That's one thing. We know that it's 100% true. These are sound fundamental principles that cannot be argued. Next, they need to believe that what you're selling can help them avoid pain and gain pleasure. This is what value is really. Value is what helps the customer avoid pain and gain pleasure. So you have to promise in your marketing you have to promise that you can help them avoid pain and gain pleasure. Also cannot be argued. If they want to buy, they will only buy things that they believe will help them avoid pain and gain pleasure. And the last thing, they need to believe. Your customers need to believe that you can actually deliver on your promise and actually help them avoid pain and gain pleasure, right? So these are the three fundamental principles of marketing that nobody can argue. First off, they need to understand your message. You need to be able to deliver your message to them. Second, in your message, you need to promise them to avoid pain and gain pleasure. They need to understand that you can help them avoid pain and gain pleasure. And lastly, to buy, they need to believe that you can actually help them avoid pain and gain pleasure. Everything around marketing is built off of these fundamental principles. And every other principle of marketing can be fitted under this umbrella of understanding pain and pleasure and believing. And you might be thinking something like curiosity. Where does curiosity fit in this? Because you want to create curiosity in your buyer, right? But that falls under the umbrella of understanding, because for them to understand your message, they actually have to read your message. And if they want to read your message, they have to be curious about your message. And then you're asking, what about pricing? Let's say pricing would fall under pain and pleasure, because if the pain caused by giving you their money is more than the pain avoidance or the pleasure that they will gain from using your product or getting your service, then they won't buy, right? So as you can see, everything will fall under these umbrellas. Another example, branding increases trust, and trust makes your customers believe that you can actually deliver on your promises, right? Actually deliver and help them avoid pain and gain pleasure. And when you come across a new marketing trend or a new marketing strategy that isn't based on these sound fundamental principles, these three principles, 9 times out of 10 it won't work. Or it might work for a short period of time and then it will stop working, and then you need to find another trend or another strategy, and then you'll always be wondering where your next leads, where your next clients will come from. All of your marketing, all of your campaigns, all of your systems must be built on top of these three fundamental principles, or it will not work. And now we're going to cover how to write high converting copy. And that, of course, will also be based on these three fundamental principles. And this framework has been used in any great piece of copy. You can use it in anything from content to sales pages to email marketing to sales scripts, anything. You can adapt it to any situation. And I came up with this after analyzing over 100 pieces of copy in my career, looking at the best ones, the best performing ones, and seeing what they had in common. And this framework isn't as easy to remember as all of the other ones you see with nice names, easy to remember, but this is what I found works, okay? First off, the first element is the hook, H for hook. And the purpose of the hook is to obviously get your readers to actually read your copy or to watch your video, right? They need to understand your message. And in the hook, you want to provide a big promise or a controversial idea, or both, depending on the situation. You can pick and choose these different elements under it, right? A big promise will promise them to avoid pain and to gain pleasure, and will want them to make them want to keep reading to see how they can avoid this pain and gain this pleasure. And the other type is a controversial idea. And this can be part of your storytelling, which I covered in the branding video. This is your epiphany moment, something that you realize that nobody else realized. And then in the rest of the copy, in the rest of the content, you can justify that and show how everybody else got it wrong and why your solution based on this new idea is the only one that will work for them, okay? And then next you want to present the problem. P for problem. And this can be through a story. A really powerful way to do each of these elements is a story, because for problem, for example, you could tell a story about how you realized their problem, how you were in their same shoes, how you had to go through all the obstacles that they did and all the frustrations you had with their competitors, things like that. And it really shows that you know their unique situation and you've been through what they've been through and you've overcame what they want to overcome. And it really gives you the authority needed to present your solution later on. And you can also use this to talk about another customer and how they realized problems with the competitors, how they tried all of the competitors and none of them worked until they came to you, right? Until they came to you. And then now you need to agitate the problem. A for agitate. You need to make their problem more painful. And this could include things like justifying their past failures, like saying, it wasn't your fault that you failed all this time. It's because everybody was telling you to do this, and they were all wrong because you have to do this instead, right? And not only can you just show them how painful the problem is, you have to also show them how painful the problem will become if they don't change right now. You need to make urgency, because you need the problem to get worse and worse and worse, and that's the only way that they will take action right now at this moment. And now at the end of this section, there should be a huge gap with where they are right now, all of the pain they're feeling, and where they want to be. This is where they want to be, and you want to make that gap bigger, right? But at the end, you also have to reassure them of their solution. You need to paint a picture of their dream, telling them to imagine what would life be like once you fixed this problem, once you overcame this obstacle. And now you can start to present the solution. And in the solution, you want to start with, again, introducing a controversial idea, because it will really set you apart from all the competitors. who say the same thing and really promises to help them avoid pain and gain pleasure, but they say the same thing over and over so that their customers don't really believe them anymore because they've heard it way too many times. And with your solution, presenting this new controversial idea, you want to frame it so that it's like an epiphany moment, like how we covered when you're telling your story, your epiphany moment, when you realized this controversial idea, this new idea that nobody else did. And this is the exact reason why everybody else is failing and they won't be able to overcome this obstacle. They won't be able to avoid this pain and gain the pleasure that they want because that they didn't realize this one thing. And then you want to present your whole solution around this one idea. Because if your solution is really the same as all of your competitors, the same as everybody else's, then your customers won't believe you, tying it back to the core principles. They won't believe you because they've already heard it a million times, and maybe they went with your competitors and it didn't work. So you need to present something different. You need a new controversial idea. And again, you want to paint this picture of achieving their dream outcome, of overcoming this obstacle faster and easier than if they went with your competitors. And again, this is just really making the pain more painful and making the desire more desirable so that they're driven to take action. And now you will have objections. You will always have objections. O for objections. And you need to know how to deal with them. There are really three main types of objections. One objection is the objection about your thing. They don't believe that your thing is good enough to help them avoid pain and gain pleasure. The second objection is that it wouldn't work for them, that they're too old, or they're too young, or they're not in the financial situation. And the third and final type of objection is when your customers think that the investment is not worth what they will get out of it. And the most powerful way to handle these objections when you're writing copy, when you're making content, is by telling stories. By telling stories of customers who are in the same step of the process as them, who had the same objections as them, who had the same concerns as them. And this is really where you shift their beliefs. You identify their core beliefs that are holding them back, and then you shatter that belief and replace it with a new one. Like maybe you're an agency trying to close a client, and maybe you can talk about a story where one of your clients had an objection, had a concern, had a belief. Their core belief was that it was better, it's always better to do it in-house because there's more loyalty, there's more commitment, right? But then you tell the story of how he realized that it would cost 10 times more to hire the talent that would get him part of the results, only part of the results that hiring our agency would, right? And our agency is actually really committed to each one of our clients. They're really loyal to each one of our clients and will never leave any of our clients. And maybe you can go on and show some testimonials of older clients who were really impressed by your loyalty and show comments by them. Of course, you can also deal with objections. One of the objections is that they don't believe that you can actually deliver on your promise to help them avoid pain and gain pleasure. And that one is the easiest to overcome. You just need social proof. And if you don't have social proof, you can use borrowed authority, or you can prove it using logic. Prove that your system will work and it will get them results. A common objection handling method that I see on sales pages is an FAQ section. And the FAQ section is they're really just objections disguised as questions, and then you're just answering the objections, right? I find that's a really good strategy. And finally, you need to end with a strong call to action. Because if you don't end with a strong call to action, everything that you did before this went to waste. And in the call to action, you want to present your compelling offer. You want to promise them to avoid pain and gain pleasure and to help them overcome their obstacles and achieve their dream desire faster and easier than if they went with your competitors. And you also have to give enough proof in the above sections to make them believe that you can. But you still also want to balance that with leaving curiosity. You want to promise them these results, but you still want to leave curiosity as to how. Okay, to summarize, HPASOC: hook, problem, agitate, solution, objections, and call to action. It's not the easiest to remember, but this is what works, okay? All based on these three fundamental principles. And now we're also going to use these three fundamental principles to show you how to make content that attracts your dream clients, how to use them to build funnels and email marketing that books more meetings than you can handle, and how to actually close those meetings and turn them into high-paying clients. Content is so great because it's great for inbound leads, and inbound leads are 100 times more qualified, 100 times more likely to buy, 100 times more loyal than any lead you could get from doing a little bit of cold outreach, right? It's also great for building your brand and building your audience, and those are the best assets you can possibly have, right? And when you're filming content, you want to do your research first. You have to do your homework first. You have to know exactly the pain your customers have, the problems they have, the obstacles they have, and you want to make content centered around that. You want to help them solve those problems in your content. One of the other core principles is to make your customers, make your clients believe that you can deliver on the value you promise them. And content is also a great way to achieve this because you can really show your expertise and you can give free upfront value that will make them trust you more. And a great formula for this that I covered in a previous video is the 911 formula. 9 pieces of value, 1 piece of personal content, and 1 piece of content asking them to buy. So 9 pieces of value, 1 piece personal, and 1 piece asking to buy. And you want 9 pieces of value compared to only asking them to buy once, because when you're giving out value, and if you're giving out real value, that will increase demand for your product and service. So demand is this high because you gave out 9 pieces of value, and asking people to buy, that is basically providing supply for your product or service. And your supply would be right here because you're only providing 1 piece of value. 1 piece of asking to buy, sorry. And when your demand is so much higher than your supply, you can charge a lot more than any of your competitors. And when you charge a lot more, you get more profits, and you use those profits to reinvest into making your thing more valuable so that your competitors can never catch up, and that is how you build a monopoly. Usually, the most valuable type of content you can make is long-form educational videos that help your clients, help your prospects solve a specific problem that they have. So they might find it through YouTube SEO, YouTube search, which is probably the best way because you already know that they have the problem if that's the way they're coming to you. So maybe they're searching for a problem in the YouTube and they see your video, and your video provides a lot of value. And then now they get that value, they believe that you can deliver that value. And then you put them into your funnel, email marketing, sales process, and then you close them. You have a high-paying client now. But when you make these educational videos, these long-form educational videos, you might find that they get less views than maybe something that's more entertaining, because you have two sides of the spectrum. You have educational videos and you have entertainment videos. And of course, entertainment videos will get more views, get more likes, get more subscribers. But educational videos is really what you want to do, even though you'll get less vanity metrics like views, subscribers, all of that, because this is what helps you really attract the qualified prospects. And you can have like a couple thousand subscribers, and you can have tens, hundreds of inbound leads coming in, and that's how powerful this is. And oftentimes people think like content almost behaves like a funnel. Maybe some people watch your more entertaining content and then they get funneled down into your more educational content and make them more qualified buyers. But that's really not what happens, because the people who watch the entertainment videos, they want more entertainment videos. They don't want to watch your educational videos. And the people who do watch your educational videos want more educational videos. They don't want entertainment videos. And the same thing is for longs versus shorts. The people who watch your long videos are oftentimes more qualified than people who watch your shorts on Instagram or on TikTok or YouTube shorts, things like that. So a lot of people think that they might watch the shorts and then they get funneled down into the longs. But no, people who watch shorts want more shorts, and people who want longs want to watch more longs. And that's why you need to focus solely on long form educational content to attract those qualified leads, to get those inbound leads. And now that you've given the value, now you want to ask. Now you want to ask them to buy. And this could come in the form of asking them to opt in for a free lead magnet. That's the best thing. That's the most effective way. Because like I said before, not all of the market is ready to buy. Like I showed you this pyramid before, right? Only 3% of the market is ready to buy. Those are ready to buy customers. And there's 97% of the market that you aren't serving. 17% is in information gathering mode. So these are people who have the problem that your solution solves, but they are gathering information to make the best decision. And then you have 20% that have the problem you solve, but they aren't in enough pain as to where they need to take action yet. And then 60% of the market is not interested. I showed you this before in another video. And instead of only targeting the 3%, which is people who will buy your core offer, you need lead magnets and you need secondary offers, so you can target this whole 40% and maybe eventually qualify them, help them out here so they can get to the level where they are qualified to buy a core offer. And these types of leads that have been with you and that you've helped walk them up and qualify them, these are the best type of leads you can ever have, because they will pay whatever price, they will work with you no matter what. They're the most loyal, they're better than any type of lead you can ever get. Okay, so you can mention your lead magnets, your lower ticket products in your videos and wait for your customers to opt in for that or to buy that. And now we have the emails, which will be really useful for email marketing later on. But now we need to upsell them. And upselling them is so important because it takes advantage of something called action momentum. And let's say this is your client's interest in your product, okay? It'll look like something like that. And on the y-axis here, this is interest. And on the x-axis here, we have time. And why it's like this is because at the start of this curve, they haven't seen your content, and they start slowly watching your content. They start seeing the value you provide. They are a little bit more interested, right? And then maybe right here at this point, they opt in for your thing. They opt in for your free lead magnet, or they buy a low ticket product. And then you need to wow them with your value in that lead magnet there. You really have to provide a lot of value so that it increases the desire, increases the interest, right? And if you really have a really good lead magnet, this uphill part will last for a really long time. Just like how you get when you buy a new thing, you're really happy for a short amount of time, but inevitably it will fall back down. It will return to baseline, and then you will end up having to provide more and more and more value to drive less and less and less action. That's why it's so important to take advantage of action momentum the first time. So once they opt in, you want to upsell them. Maybe upsell them somewhere like right here. Okay, so they're excited, they just got your lead magnet, they have action momentum. And this is kind of similar to when let's say you don't want to clean your room, and then you start doing it, maybe you make your bed, and then now you have motivation to do the rest, to clean even more, right? Because the action creates more motivation, and the more motivation motivates you to take another action, and then the action creates motivation in and of itself, and then it just grows and grows and grows. Maybe this upsell is to book a free strategy session with your team, or maybe it's to sell you some templates or some courses to teach you how to do it yourself, right? And maybe they don't buy the templates, maybe they don't buy the courses, and then you can downsell them, maybe with a payment plan or a cheaper version or a more bare bones light version. Before the action momentum dies off too much, you want to run something called a follow-up email campaign. And that'd be somewhere from this period to this period. And in this email campaign could be anywhere from 4 to 8 emails, let's say. And what you really want to do is you want to funnel them, put them back into the funnel, remind them of what they're missing out on, remind them why your solution is better than all of the competitors and why they should go with you, right? Maybe create some scarcity and urgency in there with a special offer. And you funnel them back into the funnel, back into the sales pages, because a lot of the time maybe they forgot about it, maybe they told themselves that they were going to do it later, maybe they were busy, right? And you never ever want to skip on these email campaigns, because one, they're absolutely free, and two, they will skyrocket your conversions in your funnels. After this process, you can add them to something called a broadcast email list, which is where you talk about maybe your brand, you talk about some stories, and maybe you give them some more value. Maybe you try to funnel them into a different part of your value ladder. Maybe you try to funnel them into more of your content, or funnel them into buying a cheaper product or a more expensive product, depending on what they did previously. And this graph will kind of repeat itself as you go throughout the sales process, go throughout the client journey, something like that, right? Walking up a mountain. Now, let's say you book them on a call. Let's say you get on a call with them. What do you do now? What should the sales process be? In my opinion, when I got on sales calls with clients, I used to have a really rigid script. And I think my clients, my prospects, could tell that I was trying to follow a script, that I was trying to use some sales tactics, and it would never work because they could sense that. They could sense that I wasn't being authentic, and that will ruin the sale because it'll decrease the trust. They'll view you as just another salesperson, and that's not how you want to be viewed. The only advice I can give you is to genuinely try to help them, genuinely try to understand their situation and to see if you two would be a good fit. Don't try to use some sales tactics because it will come off as disingenuous and it will decrease trust. Great, you got a client now, but the most important part is still fulfillment. Because if you fulfill and you actually deliver on your promise to them, then you will develop a reputation for excellence. And a reputation for excellence will multiply all of your efforts. It will multiply your content, your sales funnels, your email campaigns, your sales process, because you have trust. You have trust with your audience, you have trust with your customers. And like I said before, I've seen home improvement businesses make 6 figures a month, hundreds of thousands of dollars, based solely on your reputation. They get inbound leads, they get referrals, and sure, maybe they have a little bit of social media or a little bit of print ads, but that's like 10%. 90% of their leads were inbound or referrals because of the insane reputation that they developed for excellence. The last point I want to make here is to always test. Always see what works, always see what doesn't, and learn from them. Because if you don't learn from your mistakes, if you don't learn from your experience, you will never be able to improve. See what works, see what doesn't, learn from them. Always split test headings, split test titles, split test subject lines, split test thumbnails, split test everything. Split test the most important parts. Look at what works, look at what doesn't, find what works, find what doesn't, learn from it, and then constantly improve. I do plan on making a client acquisition and client conversion framework that will be linked in the description. But for now, if you clearly communicate and make your leads believe that you can help them avoid pain and gain pleasure, I promise you, you will be able to convert your leads like clockwork.